Last week in Michigan politics, the fiscal year 2027 budget is passed following a late night of negotiations Thursday night into Friday morning. We look at what that means for schools and projects here in West Michigan. And Grand Rapids officially has a new chief of police. What city leaders are saying about their new top cop. Plus, one day after America celebrated 250 years of independence, we take a look back at how native Grand Rapidian and former President Gerald R. Ford spent the 200th anniversary in the White House. Filling in for Josh Alburtus, I'm Cali Lichter, and this is your 13 on Your Side rundown. Hello, we hope you have been enjoying the historic 4th of July weekend. As America celebrates its 250th birthday, the Gerald R. Ford Presidential Museum is looking back in time. President Ford was in office during the 200th celebration in 1976. It's a major part of his legacy that the museum is celebrating with both permanent and temporary exhibits. Gerald Ford's celebration of the bicentennial started a year earlier when he visited Revolutionary battle sites in Massachusetts. It culminated with a busy 4th of July in 1976 that saw him visit Valley Forge, Philadelphia, and New York. The president and first lady capped it off by taking in the fireworks over Washington, D.C. 13 on Your Side's Peter Elliott has a look at that history.
A Mickey Mouse lunchbox, a porcelain bald eagle, and a Declaration of Independence made out of alphabet macaroni.
Created by a Wisconsin Girl Scout troop.
Those are just a few gifts Americans sent to President Gerald Ford during the bicentennial celebration in 1976.
They're making all these things, just weird and wacky 1970s objects, and they're inspired to send them to their president to be part of this large national celebration.
You can see them at the Ford Presidential Museum. Curator Morel Lukey says it's just a fraction of what could be on display.
We have about 20,000 objects in our artifact collection, and about 3,000 of them are bicentennial objects.
The items reflect how Americans felt 50 years ago when the U.S. turned 200.
People were really excited about this moment to look at American history, look at how far the country had come.
Now, with the country celebrating its semi-quincentennial, Ford's role in the bicentennial celebration is worth reflection.
Ford also really felt like the bicentennial was a moment to usher in what he called America's third century.
For the 38th president, the occasion served an important symbolic purpose.
I, Gerald R. Ford, do solemnly swear that
after Richard Nixon's resignation.
The bicentennial was part of his larger mandate that he had taken for himself upon taking office. That was to help heal the nation, help the nation recover and move past the turmoil of Watergate, the uncertainty of things like the Vietnam War.
A temporary exhibit also commemorates the relationship between the country and its former colonizer.
So that's Queen Elizabeth's signature right there on the letter.
It's called Waltzing with the Queen.
This exhibit looks at the special relationship between the U.S. and the U.K., how it develops over time, and really how it culminates in this moment in 1976 when President Ford and Queen Elizabeth have this state dinner together.
On display, the dresses worn by Betty Ford and Elizabeth II.
The visitors can actually see the dress in motion in the video, and I think it helps kind of really bring it to life.
Some big money coming down the federal pipeline for Michigan. This after severe weather caused widespread damage earlier this year. Governor Whitmer initially requested to include 43 counties across the state, but after she shared the specifics of the disaster aid a few days later, it only included about half as many counties as requested. President Trump posted on Truth Social last week that Michigan has been approved for $32.1 million. The disaster declaration includes 27 counties for FEMA's Individual Assistance Program and 26 counties for FEMA's Public Assistance Program. Some of those counties in West Michigan include Allegan, Berry, Kalamazoo, Montcalm, Muskegon, Newaygo, and Oceana counties. Right now on your screen, we have websites and phone numbers available to apply for personal assistance and to apply for low-interest SBA loans. FEMA and the SBA will also be setting up recovery and outreach centers in affected areas. Last week, the federal government announced some changes to Medicare that could affect people here in Michigan. Some Medicare recipients can now get certain GLP-1 medications for just $50 a month. That's for Medicare recipients enrolled in Medicare Part D prescription drug coverage. The program is called Medicare GLP-1 Bridge. It's offered through a new agency in the Department of Health and Human Services led by Dr. Mehmet Oz. The initiative will continue through the end of 2027. Medicare recipients who want to learn if they qualify can learn more at the website on your screen. It took a full night of negotiations, but the Michigan legislature passed a finalized budget Friday morning. Coming up, we break down some of the major funding lines alongside some West Michigan-specific projects to receive funding next fiscal year. Following a full night of negotiations Thursday into Friday morning, the Michigan legislature has passed the fiscal year 2027 budget. While missing the toothless constitutional deadline of July 1st, the legislature still passed the budget far ahead of when it passed last year in early October. After the bills passed, we broke down some of the specifics from the new budget. The $75.2 billion budget is nearly $6 billion less than last year. But despite this, the school aid budget actually increased year over year. The $19.8 billion school aid budget includes $17.9 billion, which goes to the K-12 funding, while $2.6 billion goes to higher education, and another nearly $500 million to community colleges. Michigan State Superintendent Dr. Glenn Maleko applauded the budget's investment in literacy and the continuation of the free breakfast and lunch programs for next school year. He said in a statement, quote, "These literacy investments, along with the many other education priorities included in this budget, demonstrate what can be accomplished when we work collaboratively in bipartisan manner while always putting students first." The state invested a little over $200 million in continuing the Universal Meals Program, and it increased investment into early literacy coaches for school districts by more than $10 million, a key issue for Michigan schools who have been ranked near the bottom in the country for fourth grade reading proficiency. In total, the state invested over $500 million in programs to support student literacy and achievement. The K-12 school aid budget also included an increase of about $250 in per-student funding and funding for programs to address the ongoing teacher shortage in the state. Turning to the general budget, some of the statewide highlights include increased funding for transportation infrastructure and programs totaling about an additional $200 million in new investments. Another $184 million investment is aimed at supporting efforts to meet new federal requirements for health care and the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. The budget also includes some West Michigan-specific line items, including $3.3 million to repair Blackmere Road in Ravenna Township, $1 million to purchase land in Lowell to connect parts of the area's trail systems, and $400,000 to support the Nature Center Development Project in Hudsonville, just to name a few. The new budget passed both chambers with bipartisan support. You can find a more detailed breakdown at 13onyourside.com. And if you've been using the wagering app Kalshi to bet on sports, you're going to want to hear this. The app has been ordered to stop taking sports bets here in Michigan. Kalshi calls itself a prediction market, where users can trade on the outcome of real-world events. But Attorney General Dana Nessel argues it's really an unlicensed sports betting operation disguised as an investment platform. A judge has now ordered the app to stop accepting sports wagers in Michigan. Nessel praised the decision, saying the state's gambling laws are designed to protect consumers from unlicensed and predatory operations. 13 on Your Side's Michael Martin has the latest on the legal back and forth.
The World Cup is in full swing, and for some, that means it's time to place your bets. Hold your horses, though. An order signed this week by an Ingham County judge tells prediction market Kalshi to stop taking sports bets from Michiganders, claiming the company is not properly licensed and are allowing people as young as 18 to place wagers. They claim, quote, Kalshi's failure to comply with Michigan gaming law gives it a massive and unfair advantage over the entities that comply with Michigan's regulatory structure. Telling 13 on Your Side, it's no surprise we disagree with the state's decision and will fight it in court. We won't be bullied by interests that care more about protecting their monopolies than their consumers, In the meantime, we're implementing restrictions. Michigan's Gaming Control Board responded to this notion in a statement saying, in part, no operator may sidestep the state's consumer protections simply by rebranding a sports bet as an event contract.
Well, it seems as though Kalshi is respecting the state court's order to implement some sort of restrictions. They plan to fight the assertion that they need to comply with state regulations moving forward. Now turning to Your Voice, Your Vote, and a look at two big statewide primary debates happening here in West Michigan on July 7th and 9th. On July 7th, 3 Democratic candidates vying for the party's nomination for U.S. Senate will debate. Former Wayne County Health Director Dr. Abdul El Sayed, current U.S. Representative Haley Stevens, and State Senator Mallory McMorrow will face off in the hour-long debate. Then on July 9th, 3 Republican candidates looking for their party's nomination for Michigan's next governor will debate. Current U.S. Representative John James, former Michigan Attorney General Mike Cox, and businessman Perry Johnson will share the stage that night. 13 on Your Side will have full coverage of both debates on air and online. A longtime former township treasurer is facing serious allegations of stealing more than $740,000 over more than 10 years. Coming up, what the township has done since her departure and how she was able to allegedly embezzle those funds. Grand Rapids has a new police chief. Joseph Trigg, who's been with the department for 25 years, was officially sworn in at City Hall last week. 13 on Your Side's Nick Nelson was at the ceremony and has the story.
Do you solemnly swear to uphold the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Michigan, and perform the duties as Grand Rapids Police Chief to the best of your ability, so help you God? I do. Congratulations. Thank you.
With a hand on the Bible and a signature, Joseph Trigg officially became the 16th Chief of Police in the city of Grand Rapids.
I feel honored to lead a great organization, that we have, great men and women that dedicate themselves to this city, and I feel honored to be here.
Trigg was named police chief by city manager Mark Washington last week and was joined by family, close friends, and city leaders Monday. Washington praised Trigg for his community service, saying he's respected by both the department and the community.
There cannot be a community without the police department, and there cannot be a police department without a community. And we need a leader of this department that's able not just to police our community, but to police with our community. And Chief Trigg has proven that he is that person.
Mayor David LeGrand also expressed his happiness with Trigg now taking on the role permanently, and added he hopes that Trigg can stick around.
We need you to do this job as long as you can do this job, because it is a weight, and it is going to wear you down, and it is something that you are going to have to carry, and you are going to have to do as long as you can do it.
Trigg emphasized the importance of building trust and improving police community relations.
Our men and women are safer when they have a community that respects them and appreciates them, and the same thing, the community is safer when they have our men and women that appreciate and respect them. It's a two-way street, and I want to try to bring that together as closely as possible.
A crackdown on gun violence in Muskegon County this summer. Federal and local officials are coming together and aiming to address the problem, cooperating on all levels. The group was comprised of U.S. Attorney Timothy Virhe, the county prosecutor, and other top policing officials as they emphasize that there are harsh consequences for violence, especially with firearms. In Muskegon County, Prosecutor DJ Hilson says there is an issue with people using guns to resolve conflict, and that both the state and federal level are ready to give them a long prison stay. He says they are also going to start up the Joint Operation Nighthawk, having law enforcement officers going on unannounced home visits for people on parole or probation to make sure they do not have weapons or drugs. Federal Prosecutor Timothy Virhe says in some cases involving guns, it's going to be reviewed at both the state and federal level, and he says federal court is a whole different ballgame. Hilson says Muskegon County is a safe place, and cracking down on the violence in the community can help it grow.
There's a lot going on in this town, a lot of great development, a lot of good things happening, and sometimes that gets overshadowed by one or two incidents of violence. but it's a far cry from other areas on the west side and on the east side of Michigan.
A former Ionia Township treasurer is accused of stealing more than $747,000 from the township over 11 years. Marilyn Harp is facing a bank fraud charge for allegedly writing 80 fraudulent checks during her time in office. Investigators say the checks were used to pay for credit cards, personal expenses, and part of a vacation home between 2014 and 2025. They also say that she would present false township financial reports during meetings that did not include any of the funds she used for personal expenses. If convicted, Harp could spend up to 30 years in prison. Consumers Energy is seeking permits from the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, also known as EGLE, to drill 2 waste disposal wells near the J.H. Campbell coal-fired power plant in Ottawa County. The wells would be used to store wastewater generated from the plant, which is said to be non-hazardous, according to EGLE. They say that wastewater would be injected deep underground into porous rock formations between 4,500 and 5,900 feet below the surface. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency is answering questions and accepting comments on the proposed project at a public hearing on July 23rd at the Midtown Center, located at 96 West 15th Street in Holland. An availability session where the EPA will answer questions will run from 6 p.m. until 7:30 p.m., then from 7:30 p.m. until 9:30 p.m. People can submit comments during a public hearing. You can learn more about the project on our website, 13onyourside.com. American veterans have fought for our freedom since the nation's founding. Coming up, we sit down with a group of vets to talk about what this historic 4th of July meant to them.
We the People is sponsored by North Point Bank.
Our country just celebrated 250 years since America declared independence. Leading up to the milestone, 13 on Your Side's Riley Mack spoke to the people who helped protect these United States. She sat down with veterans who have served this nation across decades to hear what they had to say about this major milestone in American history in this edition of We the People.
Every morning, coffee is poured, donuts displayed, chairs filled. Some come here to be served. We're reserving this seat for those who already have.
22 years on active duty, 2 tours in Vietnam.
I served on the Korean DMZ. I served for 14 months.
26 years.
I volunteered for Vietnam. I was a reluctant draftee. Coast Guard, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps.
I'm a 2-time combat vet.
I retired in 2018 as a Master Sergeant.
One of the most decorated soldiers in the Vietnam War.
I'm part of an elite fighting force.
Carried a radio on my back for 13 months.
I kept the machine guns running.
Aircraft mechanic.
Ordinary people.
What do you hope people think about this July 4th?
Who did something extraordinary.
Sacrifice it took to get here.
It's more than just a party.
I hope people remember how far we come.
I mean, it's literal heritage. I know there's a lot of division. As long as we have that, we do have democracy.
Even though some of us may have different opinions, we still have to remember we should be loving each other.
We met at a Navy base. We got married in '76, so the bicentennial year.
We did.
And we've been married 50 years. If you just love each other, help each other, we'll get through this just fine.
We got some basic values, equality.
I am so grateful a person being of color could be of service to their community.
Not all people that served your country are men.
And if she's a soldier, thank her for her service.
We call us the U.S., United States. It's us.
This is the greatest nation in the world.
Best country in the
Best country in the world.
See the goosebumps?
You have hope.
Yep, there's always hope.
These days,
There's another day.
we can't agree on much, but on this,
Was your service worth it?
they did.
My service was worth it.
It was worth it.
100%.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it was. I would go back and do it again without any hesitation.
Would you say the sacrifice that a lot of people have made should be something that we think about this 250th year?
Oh, definitely. People do bring things home from the service. They sacrificed and they keep sacrificing.
This is Spruce. I'm 100% disabled. I have PTSD. Spruce has done a wonderful job helping with that.
And you would still say, this is worth it?
Yes, I would. For the freedom that this country has,
Here today, they sit.
I would do it again.
But this July 4th, we hope you remember a time
Thank you.
they stood.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
And for America's 250th birthday, 13 on Your Side highlights some of our favorite local We the People segments from the past 3 months in an hour-long special. You can watch it right now on demand on our 13 on Your Side streaming app. And that's the rundown for your week in Michigan politics. Be sure to keep up with all the top political stories of the day, both on air and online at 13onyourside.com.